Hi everyone. In this video, I want to explore cron expressions, a way to define some moment in time as a one-off or some recurrence. And while we might think of them typically as Linux, it actually applies beyond there. For example, Azure functions. If I want some recurrence or define a schedule, I use a cron expression to do that. So there's all different types of recurrence, could be hourly, weekly, whatever it is, I can define those with cron. So cron is giving me a way to express whatever that schedule or that moment in time is. Now, forget about cron for a second. If I was to just think about me as a human being, I might have the idea of some moment in time. I might optionally sometimes talk about a year, but often will omit the year. But I'll then maybe say, hey, the day of the week. So I have day of week. I then might have the month. I'll have the day of the month. Then I would have, for example, hour and then minute. So I could see that might look like, hey, day of the week, or maybe that's Monday. It's January. Day of the month, maybe it's the 10th. And it's 8 a.m. in the morning, and it's 15:15, so 15. So that to me as a human, I can understand that. And I might even say, well, instead of Monday, maybe day 0 is Sunday. So I could say, hey, look, Monday's actually 1. January 1 to 12, well, that's 1 as well. So there's different ways I could write that. And when we think about cron, it's really exactly this. It's just it's reordered a little bit. So if that's how as a human, I might say, hey, it's Monday, January 10th, 8:15. If we go to cron, the first thing it does is it's reordering these a little bit. So now I could think about, well, actually, it's reversing this. So it's going to start off with minute. So, hey, I have the idea of minute. Sometimes you might see second. It's not standard. Check the service you're using, but typically you're not going to see second in this. If you needed seconds and all I can do is minutes, you could always in your application have some kind of sleep for a certain amount of seconds to add some recurrence in seconds within the minute schedule. But it's typically, there's no seconds, but if there was, it would be added at the front. So I have minute, hour, day of month stays the same, month, and then day of week. Optionally, very rarely, you may see year added on the end as well. And so what this would look like, we could take that same timing and apply it to this. Well, now I would just see, okay, so my minute is 15. My hour is 8. Day of the month. Well, okay, I'll say that's the 10th again, the 10th of January. Now, when we talk about cron, I can use the numbers or I can use the 3 letters, the first 3 letters from the month or the day of the week. So yes, I could say 1 for January, but I could also say JAN or FEB or MAR, etc. So I've got the month, my day of the week. So okay, again, let's say it's a Monday or a Tuesday, so I could say, hey, it's Monday. So Monday would be a 1, or again, I could do MON or TUE, etc. So that's a cron expression. That's expressing, hey, 8:15 on the 1st of January if it's a Monday. Now, that's being very specific, then hey, it has to be a Monday and be January 10th for this to apply. Now, when I think about what these units can be, some of them are very obvious. So from a minute perspective, hey, it's going to be 0 to 59. Hour is going to be 0 to 23. Day of the month is 1 to 31. The month is going to be 1 to 12. Now, the day of the week is typically 0 to 6. However, some implementations I've seen use 1 to 7, so you'd want to check that. And where 0 is Sunday. So it's going Sunday to Saturday. And of course, this is January to December. Again, remembering I can use either the numbers or those first 3 characters. The year, I think, is 1970 to 2099. So we're going to have a year 2100 problem. Apparently, we have learned nothing. So that's an example when we think of cron. We have those units, we can play around with them. So there's nothing particularly complicated about this. So this would be, hey, that 8:15. Let me use a different color over here. So say this would be 8:15 on January the 10th, but it has to be a Monday. And straight away we can see, well, that's a little bit odd. The fact that this, I may not want both of those things. So maybe I don't care what the day of the week is in terms of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I just care about the date. So what can I do to say, actually, I don't care what the day of the week is? Well, we have some special characters. So the first special character we can use is this idea of any. So for that day of the week, I could say question mark. So when I say a question mark is telling me any. Now I can use that any in day of week or month. So that's the only place I can use that. I can't use any in the month. I can't use it in hour or minute. But that just says, hey, I don't care. So I could take my same expression as before. So I'm still doing the, hey, the 15, the 8, the 10, and the 1. But now it's just, hey, 10th of January, 8:15, whatever the day of the week happens to be, I don't care. Doesn't matter whatever that is. So now it's just saying, hey, 8:15 on the 10th of January. Now there's also the idea of really the wildcard character. I can think that actually I want all of them. So all of the different instances, no matter what it is. And so for that, we use the asterisk character. So this could also just be, and in this, it has exactly the same effect. So I could just as easily do the asterisk. And this we can use in any of the units. So this means all. And you notice I can have absolutely a combination, and we'll see these as we go through. So once again, this is going to have exactly the same effect. Hey, 8:15 on the 10th of January. All days of the week that happen to be that combination. So it's going to have that same effect for what I want to do. Now, the other thing I can do is, this is very specific kind of example for that. But this wildcard character, I can use to maybe have a better occurrence. This is very, very specific. But maybe I want to have just, hey, some hourly interval. So what I could use is that wildcard. Maybe all I care about is the minute. So what if I now did 15? Oh, that's weird. Give me my board back. That's very weird. Come on. 15. And I just used the wildcard for everything else. What does this now do? So it's saying all hours, all days, all months, all days of the week at unit 15 specifically. So this is not doing it every 15 minutes, which is maybe how we may originally read this. That's not what it is. What this is saying is 15 past every hour. So this is an absolute unit. It's the minute. If the minute is 15 for all hours, for all months, all days of the month, all months, all days of the week, hey, at 15 minutes past the hour, do this thing, which may be what we want. But maybe what we actually wanted was, no, I want to be able to do it in an increment. I want it to actually say, hey, every 15 minutes. That's a very different thing. So what we do for that is we have a special character. We have the slash. So what we're going to say is, look, we want it for all in an increment, so the slash of, well, in this case, we'll say 15. For all hours, for all days of the month, for all months, for all days of the week. So here the important thing is here we're saying this is an increment. So in that unit, in this field, we're saying all in an increment of 15. So this would do every 15 minutes. Now, this doesn't actually have to be this asterisk. It could be 10, in which case it would start at unit 10 every 15 minutes. So 10, 25, 40, 55. So this is the normal thing you would do, but technically you can modify and change that. So that's an increment. Maybe I want it only at certain hours. So then we get the idea, well, I want a list of values. So I could stay on this same, hey, every 15 minutes. But now I only want it to happen at 10 a.m. and lunchtime. So now what I can say is, hey, 10 and 12. And just as we would normally do, we use the comma. So a comma, let me do it over here. So a comma is a list of values. And again, remember, while we're doing all of this, we can combine any of these together. So I can have absolute units, I can have wildcards, I can have multiple items. So now we're saying, hey, every 15, so it's the same as above, but only at 10 and 12 hours. Likewise, we could do a range. Maybe this time we'll say, hey, the same every 15 minutes, but we want to do it between 9 a.m. and, I don't know, 4 o'clock. So now it's a range. So it's a dash. Everything else. But again, I could have ranges here. I could have specific values here. But most of the time when these types of occurrence, we want it to happen all of the time. So I'm just having here. So now we have a dash, which is a range of values that I want to leverage. And as I'm typing all of these things in, there's actually a nice website we can go to. There's a lot of these out there on the internet. But if we quickly look, one of the things we can do is this site would let us type in our cron expression and it will evaluate it for us. So notice this one is saying, hey, it's just every 5 minutes all of the time. But we could change this. So we could do our */15 and then our 10, 12 ***. So every 15 minutes at 10 a.m. and 12 p.m., which is what we said. Or we could change this to, hey, that 9 to 16. So now it's doing it between 9 a.m. and 4:59. So the hour is within there, and it's doing that every 15 minutes. So if you're not sure, you can go to one of these sites and quickly type it in, and it will help evaluate it for you. Now, sometimes, maybe I don't know the day of the week. I don't know the date. Because some of them have 31 days, some have 30 days, some have 28, sometimes it's 29. But I want to maybe run it on the last day, or I want to run it on the last Friday, for example, of the week. So there's different things I might want to do. So there is, again, some special characters. So what we now have the ability to do as a special character is the idea of last. So I might now say, hey, at 10 a.m., so I'm going to do absolute units. I'm going to mix things in. So I'm saying 0 minutes, 10 hours. But again, I don't care about the day of the month. I don't care about the month. But what I care about is I want the last Friday. Remember our days, if we go and look, our days of the week start at 0. So Mondays are 1, so Fridays are 5. So Friday would be a 5. So I'll do it in this case, a regular unit. but I'm now telling it the last. So the last day of the week 5, which is a Friday. So L is the last occurrence. So it's the last Friday of every month, and it will fire at 10 a.m. Now, I could also use that same L in the date. So I could say here, last. And then the rest of it would be star. And I'll put in the question marks, I don't care, any. And we can test these. So let's go back to our, so again, that's just saying the last day of the month. If we go back to our little site, let's try and type this in just to validate what we're saying is correct. So we're saying it's 0 for the minutes, 10. And we'll start off with the, actually I'll use a question mark. Question mark star, because it could be any day of the week, 5L. So last Friday of the month. Now, if I did change this question mark to a star, it doesn't change anything. Again, a lot of the times the question mark and the star are interchangeable, but they do have some different meanings between the all and the any, but in this case, it didn't make a difference to what I'm doing. But remember, or I could just say L on the last day of the month, on the last Friday. Well, that's probably a bit too specific. So we just say on the last day of the month. And again, if we change that to a star, it's not really modifying anything at this point. There's another thing we can do. Very often we might want to run operations on a weekday. So let's just, hey, so this is the last Friday of month. This is the last day of month. And I think we understand the idea of, hey, this is 10 a.m. at this point. Now I want to make sure it's a weekday. So I'll use this same idea of, hey, it's still 10 a.m., 0 and 10. But I don't know particularly which day is a weekday up front when I'm defining the schedule. What I do know is I want it to run on the 13th or as close to the 13th as I can that's a weekday. So I can use W in here. And then the rest of them, hey, this would be a star. I'm going to put a question mark. So W is the closest weekday following. So if the 13th was a Sunday, it would run on the 14th. If the 13th was a Saturday, it would run on the 15th. So it's pushing it out until the next weekday. So this would be the closest, closest weekday. So that's a nice little special thing I can do on that. Now with these special ones, I should write this in. So with this last, remember, this is day of the week. Or month. When I'm doing this weekday, it's the day of the month only. That's the only unit, the only field I can use that in. Now, sometimes, again, the way calendars work, I just want a certain instance of the day in the month. For example, the second Tuesday of the month. Hey, Patch Tuesday. So I'm caring here about the day of the week. So Tuesday, 0 is Sunday, is a 2. So I want Tuesday, and I want the second Tuesday of the month. So I can use that special character there. I can use the hash symbol basically for the instance of that. So this is day of week only, where I can use that. Then everything else, hey, I'll do it the same way. So again, I might say, hey, it's 10 a.m. Probably wouldn't do 10 a.m., I'll do 12. And then this, I just don't care about. So I'll say star, star. So then we can see, hey, that is going to do the second Tuesday. And let's put that into our nice little site so we can see that in action. So I'll probably will just, in this case, leave the 10. But what we're going to say now is we'll change, it's not the last, we'll just do star, star. And remember, it's 2, which should just be Tuesday. But what I want is the second Tuesday. So instance 2. Now, if I changed it to 3, that's the third Tuesday. If I changed the first 2, which is the day of the week, to a 3, now it's the third Wednesday of the month. Or I could change it to the first Wednesday of the month. So that helps us get to a particular instance of that. And that's really it. So you just have these special notations that I can use, and I can really mix those up and combine them to meet the schedule that I'm trying to do. There's nothing really anything more complicated than that. It seems intimidating when you first look at a cron expression. You're like, what is this? But it's just, hey, minute, hour, day of month, month, day of the week. And you put in as much or as little as you need. I can have those absolute units. And then, hey, what's intervals I might have? Or, hey, I want it every day of the month and every month. Maybe it's every hour. And so I just get to some, maybe it's a list of values, maybe it's a range, maybe it's an increment. It's very common. Hey, I want to run this every half an hour. I want to run this every 4 hours, for example. So that would be in kind of */4. So every 4 hours. Again, you can experiment with these. If you're not sure, go to one of these sites. And there are other sites, I'll put some links in, that have lots of examples. So I could do 0*/4***. So every 4 hours. And again, you can use these combinations and use those increments really wherever you wanted to. So that's cron. It's really not that bad. It seems a lot worse than it is when you first look at it. It's like, what am I supposed to put in? There's a bunch of asterisks and slashes, and I don't know what it is. It's just minute, hour, day of month, month, day of the week. And I can use, slash is going to be a very common one if I want some increment within that unit. And that's all it's doing. So I hope that was useful. And as always, till the next video, take care.